Welcome to Business Ninjas, brought to you by WriteForMe, where you'll hear from business leaders who are out there growing their business and slaying it every day. Learn from the masters. Let's get started.
Welcome to Business Ninjas. I'm here with Jim Boccarosa from ProvenAir. Hey, Jim, how's it going?
Hey, Andy, great to be here today.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, we talked a little bit prior to the call here, but tell me a little bit about ProvenAir. What does the company do? And what are some of the challenges that you saw for your customers?
So ProvenAir is a platform that digitizes, it analyzes, and then it dynamically creates a trace history for life-limited aircraft material. So what we're doing is we are revolutionizing the way records for aircraft are being maintained and used. So we're helping solve a very manual, often paper-based process for our clients. And our clients are airlines, they are aircraft owners, they are aircraft repair organizations, and parts suppliers in the aftermarket aerospace industry as well.
I love these kinds of businesses that approach a highly fragmented, kind of an old school, like you said, paper-based, kind of way of doing business and modernizing it. How do you come across this business? What was the origin story of the idea?
So a funny story there is I've been in the technology industry since undergrad, working at a few different startups, and my wife is the one who got me into the aviation industry. She has spent about 20 years in the aftermarket parts supply business, and she started a company called Airspares Unlimited, and their focus was on aftermarket landing gear for Boeing and Airbus platforms. And I started working with her and learned about the biggest problem they faced when buying, selling, leasing, exchanging landing gear was the paperwork issue, and coming up with what they call back to birth trace. And so what that was is a full provenance of all of the parts that are included with that landing gear. And they were doing it by hand, manually. It would take them weeks to just go through all of the paperwork. We're talking hundreds of pages. And I saw that, and given my background in technology, I said, well, we need to fix that. How can you have a $200 billion industry where the high value items, your engines, your landing gear, your APUs on those aircraft are being tracked by hand, manually? And so that was really the origin and the genesis for ProvenAir, was to build a technology solution that would solve that problem.
That's great.
How I got into it.
And so as your customers are, thinking about how to solve this problem, how are you getting the word out to them? What's your way of growing the business?
So in our industry, it's as you mentioned, it's very fragmented, but it's also dominated by a number of very large players, a couple of them being Boeing and Airbus to be number 1 and 2. And so to penetrate that sort of market, what we have done, ProvenAir has done, is we've built 2 global channel partnerships. One is with GE. So GE is a channel partner for ProvenAir. They have a number of digital solutions that are used in the aviation industry, and they resell the ProvenAir solution. We also have another global partner called AAR. They are the largest independent repair organization, and they are a marketing partner for ProvenAir as well. So we have 2 very well-respected organizations out there promoting our platform to very major airlines, aircraft owners, you name it. We also have a very small direct sales team as well. That's kind of how we're getting our name out there.
Great, great. And so when somebody signs up to be a customer, tell me a little bit about what that journey looks like. How do they sign up? How do they start using your platform? And what is the experience on the platform?
Yeah. So we really took the consumer or the customer experience to heart in that no one wants to learn new technology. They want to leverage new technology to help them solve a problem. So we made our experience extremely simple. A new customer of ours simply signs up for an account. Our account manager will set them up. It's completely cloud-based, so there's nothing to install. You just need a browser and a login and password. That's it. And to start using the ProvenAir platform, they simply upload their documents. That's it. We support drag and drop or a file upload from a local computer. That's all they have to do. It's at that point that our intelligence system takes those documents, digitizes them, analyzes them, and then it dynamically builds this timeline for the customer. So all they have to do is click on the part and immediately see a representation of the history of that part, and then they can run reports, search, sort, filter, all of that. But it's an extremely easy solution to learn. We pretty much demo the software, and within 5 minutes, people know how to use it. So
That's great. That's great. And so as people are using your software, what are some of the benefits that they receive other than, it's easy to use and it kind of takes this paper-driven process? What other benefits do they receive from using the platform?
So there's some major benefits to our customers and why they use it. One is it's an incredible time saver for them. As I mentioned earlier, that looking through hundreds of pages of documentation to try to piece together all the serial numbers and the times and the cycles to make sure it all adds up is very time consuming. ProvenAir reduces that time for our clients, and it helps them optimize that entire process. And so that's a huge benefit to them. Another huge benefit is it saves them money. Either in, and there's a lot of use cases, either in when they're acquiring some material in the aftermarket so that they identify any gaps or errors in the paperwork, or when they're selling material in the aftermarket, they're able to produce these reports and share them with their potential customers so that those customers can then see a digital timeline of that high value item ahead of time so that it saves them a lot of time, money. It also increases the quality of their paperwork. And there are many folks in this industry that will tell you that we don't sell airplane parts, we sell paperwork. And so the value of those aircraft are really based on the paperwork to support the maintenance and the regulatory requirements of an aircraft. And so there is just a ton of benefits to taking a very old, outdated manual process and providing an advanced algorithm that does it the same every time, doesn't miss a typo, to really improve. And at the end of the day, it's the safety of that material as well, because now we know without a doubt that we've got all the correct information for some very mission critical systems on that aircraft.
That makes a lot of sense. And it's so interesting to hear that, there are industries still that need to be upgraded and modernized. And this is a sector of the market where clearly mission critical, kind of paperwork, and also, like you mentioned, the maintenance records that need to be captured. It's really interesting. Tell me a little bit about who your buyer is at the companies that you mentioned. Like, who specifically would be a customer of yours?
So I'll start with the type of organization that would be a customer of ours.
Mhm.
So everybody knows airlines. These are your major brand names that you know.
Sure.
There's also a large customer that is the aircraft owner. And what a lot of folks don't know is that aircraft are not owned by the airlines anymore. Most of them are owned by leasing companies or specialty finance firms. So we have customers, like I said, across both those categories and suppliers and repair organizations. So within those, the buyer would be different based on the use case. So at a major airline, there are records departments that are responsible for going through all of these records by hand and determining if they have everything. And many of these airlines have giant filing cabinets, huge basements full of boxes. I like to say, if you've ever seen the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark, where they're going through the warehouse and shipping that crate, and they say, "Who's watching it? We've got our top men on it." Well, that's what these airlines have now. Many of them have digitized that, but their version of digitizing is we've scanned it and put it into an online filing cabinet. So they still have to go through it. So a customer of ours would be the people who work in those departments who are overworked, overstressed, under a huge time crunch, and they're always fighting a moving goalpost there. So they're looking to optimize their process and increase their performance and quality. So that would be a customer. We also have customers in the same organization. So say an airline, they're selling surplus material. They have to share those documents and share that information with potential buyers. And what better way to do that is a digital timeline. Also within the organization are buyers. These are people on the procurement side of the house who are responsible for purchasing used serviceable material or parts to support engines or landing gear or auxiliary power units. And so they need to evaluate material based on the quality of the paperwork. So to them, putting that material, that paperwork through ProvenAir is also a huge time saver. And it also finds any of the issues that they may need to negotiate up front. So we've got customers across the purchasing, the records, and the disposition within those organizations.
It's so interesting as you're talking about this. I'm thinking about things like once you have the data in your system, you probably are able to see all kinds of analytics, whether it's down to the part and what the maintenance requirements are there, and just the flight path of where these aircrafts have been and the parts that are in them, to get some insights and analytics so that when they get sold again, there's book value that's associated with that.
Well, Andy, you're already speaking my language. You're taking it to the next step, but that is really the evolution of ProvenAir, is that we have a level of fidelity of data that doesn't exist. Because if you think about where all this information resides now, it's on documents or it's in a airline's ERP system.
Mm-hmm.
When that aircraft moves, that data does not move. The paperwork moves with it. Okay. And once it becomes a report, a static report, it's not usable. Okay. So what we're doing is we are taking that data that was locked up in these documents and we're building a genealogy over time of that exact information you're mentioning.
Mm-hmm.
We will, as the platform gets bigger, have the ability to perform analytics over a disparate set of information that was never available before. That's cross-platform, cross-operator, cross the globe, really. And I am very confident we'll find some amazing findings that were unavailable even to the OEM at any given time.
Yeah. And also compliance that's associated with that. It seems like, these are aircrafts, right? So they're there's a lot of compliance related issues around this. So remaining compliant because you're documenting this reduces your risk. I mean, there are a number of aspects that sounds really compelling to what you're doing.
That's correct. That's correct. In most of your airline ERP systems, their maintenance systems keep track of that information to what they call continued airworthiness certification.
Mhm.
Once that plane or that part leaves their system, now it's up to the next person to try to make sure that they have all this history of that material. And I like to share a statistic with folks that in ProvenAir, we've got over 3,500 assets across engines and landing gear. None of them, a zero, had perfect back-to-birth trace when we first ingested them. So I'm not saying the planes aren't safe, because the maintenance is excellent and there's a lot of great work, but I'm telling you that the paperwork is not perfect. So what we're really doing.
So tell me, how did you generate revenue? Is this like a SaaS model, or what's the business model for your company?
So it's two parts. One is it is a monthly subscription based on number of users, number of assets, those sort of things. And then there's also a one-time onboarding fee that is to get the asset into the system. So it's a per engine, per landing gear type of fee as well. So it's
That's great. Well, Jim, this has been really compelling.
Okay.
Very interesting. Love what you're doing.
Thank you.
One last question for you. A year from now, if you were to forecast out a year, what would you like to be celebrating?
Well, I like to tell everyone here that in our company that we are going to be the eponym of trace. Okay? We want to get rid of this term called back to birth trace, and we want to just become a verb. And we want the transaction to say, does your engine have ProvenAir? Right? Instead. So that's really what we'd love, is that, we become the eponym of trace. That's really what we like.
Love that. That's great. All right. Well, Jim, thanks again. ProvenAir, ProvenAir.com. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for enlightening us here. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks, Andy.
Thank you.